Kayla, and I'm decided just to make a short video to teach you how to use the free meal prep template that was included in my blog. So what you're going to do is you're going to enter your email on my website to get the file sent to you, and then you'll download it. And what I prefer to do personally is put it into Google Docs. That way it's just easier for me to use it, and I can share it, and then I can pull it up on my phone whenever I need to. So if this is something that you're going to want to do, you'll throw the file into your Google Drive just like this, and then you'll click it to open, and then you'll have it open with Google Sheets. And this will just put it in as a Google Sheet, and you don't have to worry about it. So now when you're getting ready to start your meal prep, you can read a couple of the directions that I've written out for you, as well as follow my blog so you can get things specified for yourself. So a little bit about this page. This is my recipe book, and this is where I enter in all of the foods that I eat, and a lot of these ones are the ones my mom eats too. So I include what food group it is, the serving size, which is very important, the name of what it is, and then all of its nutritional information that we're going to be using. So I've entered these ones for you guys, which you're more than welcome to use or delete, whatever you'd like to do. Some of them are pretty specific to me, so feel free to delete those. Okay, and then I'm going to show you a little bit about how to build a meal plan. So if you go to this first tab, I have one already built for you. This is a typical week for me. So this kind of gives you an idea of what I do, but of course you can change it to work for what works for you. So of course you always want to keep in mind the 3 rules when planning your meals. You want to eat every 2 to 3 hours, starting about 30 minutes after waking up. Always eat a protein and a carb together, and eat for your activity level. For example, if you're not doing a ton, then you're going to want to bump down your calories. Or if you're working out for 2 or 3 hours a day, you'll want to bump those up just to stay consistent with that. Another thing is, it takes some time for you to figure out what balance of macros works best for you. So what I like to do is I'll make a meal plan for a week, and then the next week I'll go ahead and I'll duplicate that and make it for the next week, and I'll change the date on it so that way I can go back after a few weeks and see like what worked really well this week or maybe what didn't work, so I can kind of see what I like. This also is really helpful for me if I just want a quick and easy one. I don't want to have to think about my meals that week. I'll just pick a week that I've done before and go off of that. So, the first thing that you're going to want to do is come all the way down to the bottom, and on my blog I had a calculation for you to find this target calorie range. Then you'll want to find that and enter that in for yourself, and then also choose the macros that you're going to shoot for. These are the macros that typically work best for me, and of course I've given myself a window so I can kind of shoot between that, but not every week is perfect, and that's totally fine. Sometimes I'll mix it up a little bit and I'll try to go a little bit lower on fat or maybe a little higher on carbs, just kind of depending on the week and how I'm doing. And just so you know, if you're into the math side of this, each protein is 4 calories per gram, as well as carbs, and fat has 9 calories per gram. So how we find that percentage, you can see up here in this equation, is just by taking the number of grams times the calories and then dividing it. And so we've already done all of that calculation for you, so you don't have to do any of that hard stuff. It'll literally just update for you as long as you don't mess up the equations, which I'll teach you about. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through and decide what you want to eat, and you can just go through and remove this line if it'll highlight. You can go through and remove that line. So for example, I'm going to show you a different way you can do lunch. So if you can take your lunch out, you see how that changes because there's nothing in these files. I forgot to take Lunchable off, so congrats. You can also add another snack in the morning. I typically don't wake up till like 9 or 10, so I don't have the morning snack, but if you're up and at 'em at 5 a.m., you'll want to have a morning snack. So you can just add a line in there, and I can show you how to do that as well. So what you're going to do for your lunch is you're going to go over to your recipe book, and you're going to find something that you're interested in eating. So let's say I want to do this easy green bean casserole, because I have a recipe for that in my Google Drive for that. So then I just go ahead and I paste that in. And so I've got a carb, so I'm going to find a protein. Another cool way of doing this is you can sort by these sides. So now that I need a protein, I can go to all of my protein. So let's say this is going to be a really weird meal just for sake of me teaching you how to do this. So now let's say I'm going to have, oh look, another easy. We'll put some garlic Parmesan chicken in there because why not? So we'll throw that in. And then let's see, we also want to have a carb. So we're going to go ahead and, oh, and I messed those all up. That's okay. Let's say I'm going to have a smoothie with lunch as well. So I'll throw all the ingredients in for my smoothie, or you can make a smoothie recipe in MyFitnessPal and then just save the nutrition information to each his own. So let's say I'm going to make a smoothie. Smoothies are really great too if you have a, like for me, I don't eat a lot of bread because of some allergies that I have. And so I usually get a lot of good carbs out of smoothies. So just a pro tip for you. Alright, so that's my meal. So it's already calculated everything down here. So you would just continue doing that for your breakfast, your lunch, your snacks, your dinner, everything. I also have this evening in here. This is typically after I work out because I usually eat dinner around like 6:30. And then I end up being up super late. So I usually eat something in the evening as well. If you're not that kind of person, feel free to rearrange that too. So now you can see like we get down here and it's already calculated our total amount of calories and it's already calculated each of our macros. And so what we can see right now is that I'm a little low in fat and a little high in carbs. So there's a couple of different things you can try to do to even yourself out. But the biggest thing is to make sure that you don't drop too much in calories. Another good thing to really notice is don't be super concerned about these numbers until this calorie level is somewhat in your target range. Maybe a little higher or in the middle, but somewhere in that target range because you'll be surprised what 200 calories will change in your macros. So when you're high in carbs, sometimes for me, when I'm high in carbs, it's usually because of some fruit. So maybe I won't put the berries in my smoothie. So I go down and that's closer to where I want. Drop my calories a little bit, but I'm still a little low in fat. So I want to add a little bit of calories. Depending on your range, if I was going to 1700, I could add some more calories. So now I want to find something that's a little high in fat, but not high in carbs, because I don't want to push that carbs up over anymore. So something that I like to do is go back into my recipe book and sort just by fat. And so now what I do is it'll either come up if you want something without fat, or you can reverse that and it'll come up things with high fat. So now I'll start going down the row and I'll say, like, we'll find something. Okay, like pepperoni. Like that's super weird in our meal, but what you can see is it's high in fat but low in carbs. And it's got about 130 calories. Which kind of works for us. We might have to move some things around. This is where it takes a little bit of practice to get used to. Alright, so in this case, my macros are better where I want them to be, but I am about 100 calories or so over from what I want. So maybe I'll just take out my Larabar, which is like the worst possible option for me because I freaking love Larabars. Alright, so now our macros are in order and we're back where our range kind of wants to be. Now, depending on my weeks, sometimes like my 1500 is my lower weeks. And then I do about 16 to 1700 if I'm working out like 5 to 6 days a week for like 2 hours at a time. I also notice during those weeks that I'm super hungry where normally I'm not. So that's a good indicator for me from my body that I need to start eating some more calories. So a couple of things you might run into when using this Excel sheet, especially if you're not super familiar with Excel. So let's say for dinner, I wanted to add a row below for that dinner option. If I go in, this isn't going to make any sense, but don't worry about it, and I add this in, you can see that that didn't change. So I can show you again, if you watch this 380, that it doesn't change when I add that row. So what happened is this row is calculating these columns. And so because that's not included, what you're going to want to do is just take this out and re-highlight those rows. And then you're going to take this cute little box right here and drag it over. Oops, not like that. Drag it over just like that. And that's how you copy this equation in. So now these ones are calculating all of these columns. So hopefully that makes sense. So if you're adding rows like that, you want to be super careful that those are getting calculated, especially if you feel like you're a little off or whatever. So then you can delete that row and it'll go back to just calculating those ones. So let's see, another thing that can cause some problems or that you might want to know is maybe adding a snack into this morning. So what I would do, and I'm not super great at Excel, so I'm sure there's like a much easier way to do this, but I'll add a bunch of rows up here until they're about what I need for that snack. And then what I'll do, hope that's enough, is I'll just copy all of this. So I just hit copy on my keyboard, and then I will paste it here. Well, that's definitely not what I wanted. My bad. I'm going to want to copy these select ones. There we go. Again, Excel is not my best friend. So, alright, and then I got to add that in because I deleted it. So now you have a snack up here, and this is all going to be calculated as well. So then you can change your snack up a little bit, whatever works for you. Alright, so then that works. So just make sure, like, when you are adding things around, that these numbers aren't getting too mixed up. And if you run into any huge problem, feel free to shoot me an email or get in touch with me on social media, and I'm more than happy to help you through it. But other than that, I really like using this Excel sheet because I have all of my meals on the bottom. It's something I feel like I can control. I don't have to worry about using a software. It's something that everything I put into it is mine. And another thing is when I go to print it, it might be a little weird because I have these things for you, but once you have your own, you can just copy and delete them. So I'll actually show you that for an example. So we'll delete those rows because you don't need those anymore, right? And then when I go and print, they will print perfectly on this cute little sheet, which I then put up on my fridge. It's probably one of the only things I actually like to print off, because then when I'm prepping, I can see all of my measurements, and when I'm getting ready for the day, I know exactly what I need, and I don't have to worry about scrolling in on my phone, which of course I do sometimes anyways. So hopefully that was helpful for you. Hopefully you really like using this meal plan. Let me know if it works for you. Leave a comment on my blog, and I'd love to get in touch with you. Thanks!